Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Perry. I am the work readiness teacher at Hmong American Partnership in St. Paul. And we also have with us Marisa, who will be helping with all of the technical issues. We'll talk a little bit about how you can get some help if you're noticing any issues in just a minute here. So we've kind of been talking to everyone to see if the speakers are working, if the microphone's working. Right now, I think Marisa has everyone muted, so you can see there's like a green microphone thing. I'm going to go to the next page here. Can everyone see the owl, Marisa, Leah? Can you see the owl?
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
So everyone look for the green icon that has the microphone. And right now, as I said, everyone should be muted, and we'll leave everyone on mute unless you're at a point where you're sharing out. So that little mute icon is on your toolbar on the left-hand side. Does everyone see this? Everyone see the chat box? How are we going to do this? Everyone is currently muted. So everyone, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I will unmute everyone.
Yeah. And then, so everyone should have the ability to speak right now. Instead of everyone speaking at the same time, everyone just quick mute yourself so I can see that you see where that little icon is.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, looks like everyone's muted. There we go. Okay, as I mentioned, I'm Kristen Perry, and we also have Marisa here for tech assistance, and then Leah is also here as our ACES expert. So thank you everyone for being here. I am the work readiness instructor at Hmong American Partnership, as I mentioned, and currently the levels that I'm teaching are all the way from level 0, so 153 in ACASAs, all the way up to level 4. So I have a few people who are scoring at about a 205 on the ACASAs. So I have a pretty wide range, so I can really relate to anyone out there who is in the multi-level classrooms. So I would like for everyone to just quick introduce yourselves with your name and the level that you're teaching currently. So I'll just call out your name, and as you hear your name be called, go ahead and unmute yourself, say your name and the level that you're teaching. Leo, would you be willing to start?
Yes. You said me. I thought you said Leo.
Yes.
But
I think I said like a combination of Lisa and Leah and Leo.
Oh, there we go. That works for me. So I'm Leah Conklin Olson, and I'm the ACES. Let's mute. Oh.
Muted.
Because that's not me. Okay.
Unmuted.
There we go.
I can't get Kristen back, though.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
There, I got myself ready.
Great. So I'm the ACES project lead, and I'm here today to just hang out with Kristen a bit and see her wonderful training she has lined up for us today and help with any questions that may come up regarding the ACES project. So thank you.
Thank you. And how about Gail? Gail, are you able to unmute yourself? There you go.
Yep, I just unmuted. Yep, I'm Gail Zoffer. I teach high intermediate learners in an occupational prep course for pre-nursing assistants at the International Institute.
Thank you very much, Gail. And Jennifer, can you unmute yourself?
I teach in a one-room classroom.
Marisa?
Yes.
Were you hearing all of those?
Yeah,
all that feedback?
Yep. It could be related to where the person is, if there's a cell phone nearby, so I think we can just move on.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine. Let's see, how about Linda?
Linda Oman, is your microphone working?
Maybe some sound issues there?
Yeah, we'll catch Linda later, maybe.
Okay. And Catherine, can you unmute and introduce yourself, please? Okay. Catherine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, perfect. Yep, we can hear you beautifully. Thank you for introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Catherine, where are you teaching and what level?
I'm sorry. I thought I just did this. I didn't realize it didn't.
Oh, is that the one? There might have been some weird, there was a sound issue and it was kind of echoing, so I couldn't hear. That might have been you. So I apologize. Go, Can you repeat yourself because you sound loud and clear this time?
Sure. I'm Katie Mendoza, and I teach in Minneapolis Public Schools at the South Campus. I teach a reading course for GED students, and I also teach an ELL class for level 5.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. And how about, let's see, Marisa, I'm seeing Lisa is still on the web version. Are you able to kind of help her get onto the desktop?
Yes, I will. Yeah.
And then in the meantime, Rosie, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Rosie Sharkey. I teach a multi-level class in Northfield, Minnesota.
Thanks, Rosie. And Sally?
Sally has no microphone, but she says she's teaching Lit 3 GED in Moose Lake.
Perfect. Thanks, Sally. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing all this stuff in the chat box now. Sarah, could you unmute yourself and introduce? Sarah, can you hear me? Oh, I see. Sarah also has no mic. Okay, thanks, Sarah. How about Teresa?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Teresa, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm with the Department of Corrections, and I'm the Transitions Post-Secondary and Career Coordinator statewide for corrections, and I'm currently working with 2 teachers, one at our Rush City facility and Stillwater, with the new contextualized design instruction through the LaGuardia training. So I will be doing, it's very aligned with ACES, so I will be working with those 2 teachers and helping teach in their classrooms in the next couple of months as we try out some of the new skills that we're learning through that training program. Then I'll be helping coach the rest of the teachers to get back on track using ACES and TIF.
Fun job. All right, thank you very much, Sarah. Let's see, where are we at here? Teresa? Do we try that one already?
Yep. You just had me. I need to unmute, and I can't get to my, here we go. I need to mute.
Yeah, I think
there we go.
Tracy is next.
Yeah, Tracy. Yep. Tracy, can you introduce yourself? Tracy, can you hear me? Well, okay, in the meantime, I do see an introduction from Sarah. Sarah is overseeing a volunteer program, levels 0 to 5 and 6. And then it looks like Xavier is in an open office space, so maybe not able to unmute himself. And it looks like he's teaching a level 01 and a workplace ESL class. So let's see, who are we missing here? I saw Andy get on. Andy, were you able to get to the desktop version? And if so, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Oh, not hearing you, Andy.
Okay, looks like maybe there's no sound for that one either.
Yep, he says he'll be back. All right.
Okay. All right, I'm hoping I get everyone. People were kind of coming in. Marissa, are you seeing that I missed anyone?
Jennifer Barabo was able to get in, it looks like. Maybe Jennifer, are you able to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I teach in a one school house, so I do all levels.
Okay. Perfect.
Very good.
So we've got the full gamut, it sounds like. All right, so let's move forward a little bit. On the next slide, everyone should see the agenda for the day. And first, I just want to point out those two words that are in red, the chat and the share out. The part that we just got done was kind of more of the sharing out where you can unmute yourself. But before you unmute yourself, if you are able to raise your hand and then I can call on you. So the raise your hand should also be on your toolbar on the right hand side. Does everyone see that share out, raise your hand? If not, you can just type a message in the chat box. And I'm going to direct everyone to the chat box right now too. On that chat box, everyone should be on the desktop version, so there should be a drop-down box at the very bottom, and you can choose to chat either with all, which is the entire audience, or specific people individually. If you have any tech issues, you can go into that drop box and choose Marisa's name. Marisa, I forgot to have you introduce yourself. Do you want to do that since I just called you out?
Sure, sure. So I'm the other voice you're hearing here, Marisa Giesler. I work for Atlas, and I am helping out today doing technical support to the best of my ability. So if you have any issues at all, feel free to chat to me directly, and I will do my best to help you out.
Okay, so if you go to that drop-down box, you can choose Marisa specifically if you have technical issues. And then I just wanted to let you know that in that chat box, everything that you're typing, you can choose to type just to specific people, but we are recording this entire webinar so that it can be viewed at a later time, and anything that's typed in those chat boxes, regardless of who they're to, is recorded in the chat part. Onward and upward. About the chat box, I have to say this is my first webinar, and it's really strange not seeing everyone's faces. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll just taking a minute to find your chat box and type me your favorite emoticon and press enter so I can make sure that everyone's understanding the chat. So please give me some smiley faces. If you want to show me some tears, that's fine too, but just go ahead and quick chat out emoticon and we'll be on our way. Okay, it looks like people are understanding the chat. And again, throughout this whole time, if you have any issues, go ahead and use that chat box to, this is making me happy, thank you. Use the chat box to ask Marisa for any help. And we will be using the chat box for other activities as well. Let's see. Okay, Lisa, I see that you mentioned that you are on the desktop now. Were we having some problems with sound for you, and are you able to get sound now? All good. Okay, so let's take a look at the agenda. You should have printed out the handout that Marisa emailed you to you today. So if you want to take a look at that agenda, It's the same thing that's up on the slide, but we're going to work through the purpose of the TIF, and then we'll explore the learning strategies using that chat box that you guys just made me feel so much better with. And then we're going to use some sample activities in the full TIF and kind of talk about how those activities might work in our classrooms and then share a little bit about that. And then we'll use the ACES process to integrate the learning strategy skills into a lesson. And we'll be comparing a lesson before the ACES process and a lesson after the ACES process. And then at the very end, we'll explore the different methods of the TIF in order to integrate the learning strategy skills into a classroom at all of your levels. So moving on. This first screen here is just kind of the mission of ACES itself, and you can read that yourself, but I just kind of want to say that for myself, what ACES has meant to me. I teach a beginning level, and I have been teaching beginning ever since I started in ESL in 2005. So I've always been teaching at those lower levels, and teaching at those levels really makes a person think about how far things need to be backed up in order to lay a solid foundation for continued success. And I'm thinking about success not only in a school situation, but also maybe as they get jobs or even just with their families in everyday life. So my interest in setting that good foundation for lifelong learning has been really deepened and expanded by looking into the TIF, and I've really used it as a bedrock for a new job club curriculum that I'm developing at HAP. And so learning strategies in particular has been really vital for me to think about the foundation and how to encourage active learning for their entire lives. So that's kind of my personal reason for being really involved in the ACES project. Leah, do you have anything to add about the mission of ACES and TIF?
I would just echo what you said. Having been a part of the team that developed it and really looking at being able to break down those skills and not just say, oh, I want my students to have better self-management, for example, or learning strategies. It's to be able to really look at specific things that we can do, like you said, to find those really foundational pieces so that we can build them up to the larger strategy. So yeah, just echo what you said. It's been instrumental in helping my students be lifelong learners and to become more independent learners and individuals in this society.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Leah. So let's dive in a little bit to the learning strategies themselves. On your handout, it would be page 2 of your handout. So everyone go ahead and turn to page 2 of your handout and get prepared because we're about to do a high-speed quiz. On page 2 of the handout, the top part of the paper lists the 4 main learning strategy skills, and the bottom are some sub-skills that are categorized under one of those 4 skills. You can see that the categories are not listed for you there, and this isn't actually a complete list of all of the sub-skills. On your handouts, page 3 and 4 is the complete list and the answers to the quiz, but we're going to try to do it without the answers in a couple of minutes. So just take a couple of minutes to quietly look over the 4 main skills and the sub-skills that are listed on page 2 of your handout, and think about where those sub-skills might fit under one of those 4 skills. So you can take a couple of notes, make some predictions about the sub-skills that it might fall, or the skill that those sub-skills might fall under.
And Kristen, I want to just point out if someone forgot to print out that handout, it is in the materials section over on the right-hand side in your control panel. You'll see materials. There are 4 materials there. The Learning Strategies webinar handout, it's a Word document, and it is posted there if you need to get at it.
And if for some reason you're not seeing those materials, you can chat to the group or to Marisa. Okay, I know I didn't give you a whole lot of time, but we're going to come back together. And on the PowerPoint on my screen, you'll see I'm going to add a bullet, which is the directions for the next part of the activity. So on the next slide, there will be a review of the 4 learning strategies skills. And then under that, you'll be looking for sub-skills that will be popped into the screen. You'll take just a short minute to read that and then use the chat box to chat out which skill of those 4 skills that it matches up with. And I'm going to be watching the chat box, and as soon as I see the first correct answer, I'll reveal the answer and we'll keep moving. So this is going to go pretty fast. I hope you're all ready. So these are the 4 main skills. Skill 1, to apply appropriate strategies for comprehending oral or written language in text and listening activities. Skill 2, apply appropriate strategies to organize, retain, and review materials in order to aid in understanding and recall. Skill 3, apply appropriate strategies to compensate for and fill in gaps in knowledge. And Skill 4, articulate awareness of what helps on learning language and content. So I'm going to pop out a sub-skill. Quickly chat what skill you think it falls under, and as soon as I see the right one, we'll move on. Identify appropriate resources and/or means to fill in gaps in knowledge. Ask a teacher, consult a dictionary, or online search. And I am seeing skill 3, which is the correct. And make use of background knowledge to understand new information. I'm seeing skill 1, which is correct. Identify preferences for learning styles, modalities, learning through reading, writing, and listening. Skill 4, which is correct. And employ a variety of strategies for categorizing information, sorting words logically, alphabetizing pros and cons. Yep, skill 2. You guys are fast. Make predictions before and during reading and listening. Yep, skill 1, yep. And compensate for unknown language using paraphrase or circumlocution, using other words to describe a word around or an unknown word. And skill 3. You passed. So now it's time for our first poll. Kind of figuring out right now, we have a little bit of a basis for what the learning strategies are. So let's think about where we're at in our practice. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll if I can remember how to do it. And does everyone see the poll on their screen? You can just chat yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like we're good. Yep. So I'm just going to give a few minutes for everyone to rate themselves in the poll.
Is your integration of learning strategies?
It looks we're at about 60%. We're getting there. Just a couple more minutes. Okay, and 100% of people have voted. I'm closing the poll now, and I'll share the results. Is everyone able to see the results in the chat box? Okay, it looks like everyone's seeing it here. So 58% is part of what we do, but not very intentional, which I would definitely say is exactly where I was at before I started getting involved in the ACES and TIF project as well. which is actually a pretty good foundation. I'm glad to see after that little quiz that no one's saying what are learning strategies. We did our job on that one. So we're going to look at the bigger TIF as a whole framework now. There should be, in your materials, there should be a material that says TIF learning strategies. If everyone could open that up, that is the greater TIF, and we can kind of see the organization of how the TIF kind of can support us. So you'll see when you open that up that it starts off with the main category and the definition. So the categories are like learning strategies, for example, or critical thinking skills.
Does everybody see where that material
I just hid the
talking about? Yeah.
Can everyone see my slide? Okay, I'm seeing yeses. So the categories and definitions, as I mentioned, that would be the critical thinking skills, or the effective communication, learning strategies, numeracy, academic language. Those are the categories, and then the definition behind those categories. And then the skills and sub-skills are what we just went over. And then they have some sample activities ranging from simple to complex. I see Andy is seeing the slide, but not the materials. Marisa, can you?
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
Perfect. So on that full TIF, we're going to look a little bit more at the sample activities. So one of the kind of visuals of the TIF itself and the ACES project itself is that we step back and kind of think about where we're trying to get our students, and then we zoom in to specific things that we can do to help them get there. So right now we're going to zoom in on those specific activities that we can use in our classroom. Hopefully everyone has found the materials. And we're going to look specifically at just 2 of the sample activities and allow you to take some time to think about how you might use that in your classroom. So you'll need those, and I'll pull them up on the slideshow as well. So if you are not able to get that full TIF, that's okay, but you will want to use page 5 of your handout to take notes. So I will also in the PowerPoint put up the sample activities, but you'll need in front of you page 5 of your handout. And we'll take a few minutes to look at those activities, and then we'll come back together and we'll do the share out where everyone can either raise their hand to volunteer or chat. So on this next slide is an example of learning strategy skill 1, subskill D, and you'll see that that's the activities are in that, the yellow activities are something without technology, and then the blue activities are something you can use using technology. So choose either the more simple on the left-hand side or moving to the more complex on the right-hand side. Choose an activity that works best for your context and think about how you may adapt that or a specific activity that you might do in your own classroom. So I'm going to give you maybe 3 minutes, roughly 3 minutes, to take some time to look through those activities, choose the complexity for your particular classroom, and then take some notes on page 5. one more minute to take a few notes. Okay, let's have everyone come back together, and I would love to hear one or two examples of what you might use in your classroom. And you can go ahead and just raise your hand. Marisa?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where I would see if a hand is being raised.
Yep, I'm looking, and we don't have a raised hand yet, but there's got to be somebody who wants to share.
Somebody.
There's got to be.
I'm not sure because I am seeing something different from what they see. Where can you direct them to where they would raise their hand?
That's going to be in the toolbar right near where the microphone is. So if everybody sees that little hand icon that's in the toolbar. Here we have Gail. Gail is raising her hand, so.
Gail located the raise her hand and is now done it. Thank you, Gail. Okay. Gail, can you go ahead and share?
Sure. I would say since I'm dealing with intermediate learners, I'm kind of in the middle of the yellow, and one of the things they have to do in their interview to get into the nursing assistant program is to read a paragraph and summarize it and state the main idea. So we practice that in class a lot at the paragraph level and distinguishing between what's a main idea and what's a detail.
Yeah, that's a complex thing. So have you found anything in particular that works for differentiating the idea or differentiating a main idea and a detail?
I tend to help them with a graphic organizer that puts the main idea at the top in a rectangle and the details in circles underneath so that they can sort of look at some parallels between the kinds of details and how do they sort of make a pyramid up to the main point.
Yeah, great. And graphic organizers is one of the main skills behind the learning strategies. So thank you for sharing. Did anyone else have their hand up?
Not yet. Kristen, maybe could you reiterate one more time the full TIF, that document that's over in the materials?
This particular skill 1 subskill D is on page 16. And then I'm actually going to move us forward to the next one, which is skill 2, subskill B, which is, actually that's the one that's on page 16. So hopefully everyone was turning to page 16 there because that's where we're going next.
Looks like Jennifer likes to use the score booster lesson and expand on it.
Ooh,
Maybe
I want to know more about score booster.
Yeah. Maybe Jennifer, can you unmute yourself? Tell us a little bit more.
I guess I just like using the score boost, the GED score boost. I can't even remember who does it, but I like it for, actually you like to use it for all subject areas because it really breaks the strategies down to one or two and then kind of teach it, and then they answer a few questions, and then if they're not understanding it, then I expand more on it. And I just think it's a really kind of easy way to not overwhelm them with one piece at a time. More than one
It also
piece.
allows them to give some feedback about what they're understanding, what's helping them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jennifer. Score Booster. Is Score Booster something specifically for GED?
Yeah, the score boosters is one of, I don't remember who it's from, but yeah, it's
Okay.
GED test, new readers press.
Okay, thank you.
It's called the score boost, I guess. It's not booster, I guess it's boost.
Score Boost. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to look at the skill 2, the select and use graphic organizers, which is something that Gail just mentioned, for an appropriate task. And again, look at the complexity from the more simple to the complex, and think about what works for your specific learning environment and how you might adapt that or use that in your classroom. And just a couple minutes here. And again, if you're looking in the full TIF, that is page 16. Okay, I see Andy has his hand up. Andy, could you unmute yourself and share out?
Test. Can you actually hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yay, a microphone.
Yay!
Okay. I might be coming at this a little bit different direction than other people because I teach mostly math. But the skill level kind of 2 into 3 of getting a graphic organizer, we do a lot of stuff in the math group of identifying objects or particular concepts, stuff like parallelogram or trapezoids or things. And I have a graphic organizer I use that has the 4 sections. What is its name? What is its definition? What's a picture of what it is? What's a picture of what it's not? And that gives them a lot of opportunity to really get a hold on what that particular object is. Mm-hmm. So it's not really creating their own. They already kind of have one, but it's getting the information into that graphic organizer.
Yeah, yep, and part of that is being able to understand how a graphic organizer works. I really like the idea of being able to get to a point in my class where a student can choose which one they think is most appropriate, but sometimes, you're at a point where it's just getting them to understand how it works.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andy. Okay, so we've had some time to think about what activities we might use in our classroom in order to integrate some of these learning strategies. So now we're going to get some experience using the ACEs process. So we're going to move on to the next slide. And okay, full disclosure here, this title really makes me laugh because I actually was a cheerleader and we had to do the whole give me a K for comets. So this one we're going to change the letters a little bit and we're going to do ACEs. So on your handout on page 7, so go ahead and turn to page 7 of your handout. and we'll be looking at these different ACEs. And just for fun and just so that I can remember that all of you are out there, I really want everyone that can unmute to go ahead and unmute themselves now. And when the A comes up, I want everyone to shout out what the A stands for, just so I can remember that you all are out there. So everyone go ahead and unmute. Okay, so we are on the A. Give me an A.
Hey!
A stands for?
Academic. Academic.
Oh, academic. We can just pick out any word that we want. So assess is the A for ACEs, and what we're doing, are you with us, Rosie?
Yes, I was thinking of the ACEs instead of the other, instead of the
Academic is a great word, right? Okay, so the assess part of is where we're looking at our current instruction, our current materials, our current curriculum, to think about where we are already incorporating these TIF skills. All right, give me a C.
Compliment.
Compliment. Yep. And then the complement part is that we're taking what we already have and we're adding additional TIF skills with very specific intention. And give me an E.
Evaluate.
E for evaluate. And then evaluate is where we've taught our complemented lesson and we're thinking about the outcomes after we've already delivered the lesson. And the S?
Study.
Study and reflect. So we're thinking more about what else do students need and what else do I need in order to get a deeper experience with the TIF framework. Okay, thank you so much. That really made me feel better as well. So you can go ahead and remute yourself. So just for this, the part of this webinar, we're going to be focusing on the assess and complement part. The evaluate and study will come after you've had some experience in your own classroom. So for this particular piece, we're going to be focusing on the assess and complement. And we will start with the assess part. Again, in your handout on page 6, you will be able to see a side-by-side of both the pre and the post lesson. And we're going to take each one of those components, so the introduction, the guided practice, and the independent practice, to assess what's already there in the pre-lesson. So I'll be pulling up the specific sections of each lesson, so you can just follow along with the slideshow, but if you need a little more support, you can look on the left side for the pre-lesson on page 6. So in the pre-lesson, there wasn't a warm-up and there wasn't an extension. And for this particular lesson, this is a really basic reading lesson, and it was something that I used for a beginning level ESL class. So you'll have to think about it from your own context, but I think a reading lesson is something that we all do, so maybe just with different materials. So for this particular pre-lesson, like I said, there's not a warm-up or an extension. We'll be assessing the introduction, the guided practice, and the independent practice. And I will bring up each component at a time. So you can also look at page 3 and 4 of your TIF at a glance to use that as a resource. And then on page 7, so there's a lot of things going on here, so you might want to set aside that pre and post lesson and focus on the slideshow. But you definitely will need page 7 of your handout to take notes, and page 3 and 4 of your handout to use as a resource. So on that assess column on page 7, you will look at each component and jot some notes about what skill and sub-skill is being addressed with that component. And then after each component, we'll chat a little bit in the chat box about what skills and sub-skills you could identify from each component. So for the introduction part, it's very common practice to show students images or a title or some sort of background from a text that you're going to be reading. So I would pull up the images and I would ask simple WH questions about the images to get some responses about what they're seeing in that image and what they're understanding as they're looking at the images before we even get to the text part of the story, and then take some time to write some prediction statements on the board. So take just a minute on that assess column, the very first column next to the introduction. Write down some skills and sub-skills that that you're seeing addressed in that component, and then we'll come back to the chat box. Okay, so for that introduction, the showing the images, eliciting some predictions, does anyone have any ideas about what skill and sub-skill that might go under? And go ahead and just chat it out in the box. Okay, so I'm seeing 1B. Anyone else? Another 1B? A 1A and B? Yeah, good. So I'll say kind of what I was looking at, and I was actually seeing the 1C, but obviously there are more things that are being involved. So I was definitely seeing the, let me see if I can pull it up really quick here. I was seeing the context clues to understand new information. So if you look on the TIF, the 1C is use context clues to understand new information, the formatting, the pictures, and the surrounding text. But you're right, we're also making predictions, and the background knowledge to understand new information, I think it would depend on what questions I was asking. But I'm definitely seeing a lot of 1C and then 1B and then maybe a little bit of 1A depending on the questions that I asked. And then here is the guided practice. So the students are reading, the students are being read to, and then you're pausing as you're reading to address the predictions, and then looking together at those predictions, determining whether they're true or false, and then reading the story again to ask some other simple questions to assess their general understanding. And then the students would actually be getting the story now for the first time, and they would be following along where they're hearing it again. And again, you're going to repeat the simple questions and then have students be reading. And then at the very end, go through the comprehension questions that come along with the story. So take a few minutes again, and then I'll just, to make it a little bit easier for you so you're not having to dig through all of them, in the pre-lesson, you can focus really on skill 1. So they'll be from skill 1. See if you can figure out what sub-skills are being introduced in this part of the lesson. I'm seeing 1F, the monitor comprehension, reread if necessary, connect to prior knowledge, stop and rephrase and visualize. I would say that's definitely one of them. got D, E, and F, identifying main themes. Again, I think that would depend on what questions you were asking. And then, yep, scanning the text to listen for or listening for specific information to address those predictions. So I'm definitely seeing B and E, the making predictions, and then listening for specific information. But there are definitely ways that others could be involved in that. Yep, good. 1E, 1F. And then the independent practice, where students are reading the story independently again, and then answering comprehension questions that are written questions that might be that might come along with the story, and then having them check their answers with another student, and then reread and explain as necessary, and checking the answers as a class. And again, it'll be concentrated in that skill 1. Okay, and let's come back together. Anyone seeing anything specific from that independent reading practice? Yep, again, I'm seeing E and the F, and that's kind of what I was seeing too, is definitely that F where we're monitoring their comprehension and their rereading again. And I think the E is really a good one too, where they're looking at those comprehension questions and then they're going back to the text to look for that specific information. So I think E is a great one as well. And then for this particular lesson, the assessment was just checking over those comprehension questions, so we won't take time to do that one. So we have completed the assess portion of the ACEs process, and so now we're on to the C, the complement part. And before we kind of get into that, we're going to be taking a look at a video of a lesson that was taught using very intentionally the learning strategies. So I just want to kind of set up a little bit about what you're going to be seeing. So for myself, when I was thinking about intentionally integrating the learning strategies, I had come across a research article on how native speakers of English become successful even as illiterate individuals. So the research was, how do people who are illiterate become successful? And they had examples of people who were politicians, who were successful business owners, people who had externally some success in the business world. And their main reason for saying that they had found success was that they knew how to ask good questions. And so I was thinking a lot about our students and what was one thing that they needed to do in order to become lifelong learners. And to me, it came back to being able to ask good questions. So I was thinking a lot about, at a beginning level, and in this particular video, you're going to see it's CASA's 175 to 191. I noticed that when I would ask them a question like, who's your teacher, they would give me an answer that would be something like school or notebook. And it was very obvious that they weren't understanding the different WH questions needed different responses. And I had been talking to another teacher who is an intermediate teacher, and I found that this was a problem even at the high intermediate level. So I started thinking about how I could, at a beginning level, lay a foundation for understanding of these different WH questions. So I kind of decided to use the learning strategies part of the TIF to develop a foundation for deepening the idea behind these different WH questions so that they could leave their classes and be able to go out and ask good questions and be successful people regardless of what their literacy level was. So in the video you're going to see an actual lesson, but I want to also say that I reinforce these WH questions daily through a warm-up activity and a journal prompt that we do every day. So the full video is about 30 minutes. The full lesson was about 2 hours, so you're just getting a very small snapshot of a much larger lesson. But you'll have the lesson plan, again, on that page 6, I believe it was, the side-by-side. You have the post-lesson plan. So if it's easier for you to follow along visually, you can look at that side-by-side lesson plan and kind of follow along. And if for some reason you're not able to access the video, you can also look along with the lesson plan. So the video itself is under Materials. So on your dashboard on the right-hand side, there is a place where it says the Atlas Classroom Video Learning Strategies. And then Marisa has also chatted in the box the link to the YouTube video in case anyone has problems accessing it there. So before we get into the video, we're on the part where we're doing the complement. So the same as what we did for the assess, we're going to watch different sections of the lesson, and then you'll take a few minutes to think about the skill and sub-skills that were being addressed in that part of the lesson. So you'll be looking for the writing your notes in the complement section and looking for the skills and sub-skills that go along with each part. So I'm not able to show you the video from my screen. You won't get audio. So you're going to have to leave the webinar to watch the specific section of the video and then come back at the end. So you can see on the slideshow it says warm up, and then the video time is 0 to 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So you're going to have to access the video in a separate tab and then come back when you're done watching that first 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So this is the warm-up, and if you have any problems accessing the video, please feel free to chat that up to Marisa. So let's just take a few minutes now for you to open up the video and watch the first 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and then come back when you're finished. just a quick update. It looks like we're just waiting for maybe one more person, maybe two more people. So you can just take this time to make some notes on your handout about what skills and sub-skills that you've been seeing. Okay, looks like everyone's back. Hopefully everyone's had some time to make some notes about the skills and sub-skills they've seen, and if you could just take a minute to chat out what you were seeing. I'm seeing a 1A and the 1C. Anyone seeing anything different? Okay. I also was seeing the 1A, the making use of background knowledge to understand information, asking them questions that they're familiar with and that they can answer to get them ready. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the introduction part of the video. And again, you'll go back to the video, watch from 10 minutes and 10 seconds to 11 minutes and 20 seconds, and take some notes about the skills and sub-skills that you're seeing. It looks like about over half of everyone is back, so we're going to go ahead and go to the next one, and I see Andy had said 2D. So I was actually seeing, it's definitely possible that there's more going on than I identified as well, but I'm definitely seeing the using the context clues, the formatting the pictures. Actually, now that I'm saying that, we actually came in about halfway through that introduction, so part of it you probably didn't get to see. So I definitely was seeing them monitor the comprehension part and connecting to prior knowledge. And, oh, that was the introduction part. You came in during the matching part on that one. I'm sorry, I should have given you a heads up about that one. So what you didn't see there was the explicit teaching of the questions, and then that would be the context clues of the pictures and placing the background. So the next part is the guided reading, which is from 1630 to 2045. and you can see kind of the activities that will come. And again, this is where I got you guys confused. On the guided practice part, we're actually coming in on the second bullet point at the very end of where the teacher is reading out loud, and they're pausing to address the predictions. So you didn't see the responses to the images. So we're jumping in a little bit further. So go ahead and go to the video, watch from 16:30 to 20:45, and come back.
Hi. Kristen, I'll jump in until you can figure out what's going on with your mute button. So I saw a couple things in the chat, and I, as in Leah. So let's see. I guessed a couple things. It looks like, let's see, E, F. Ooh, there's a 2A. I'm curious. Sure. You could be categorizing things that would go with places, people. I didn't even think of that. That's a great idea, Lisa. Okay, so, and Kristen put down learning strategies 1B through G. Kristen, do you want to go ahead and move it to, why don't you share your screen with me? Ah!
Okay, Kristen is trying to leave and then come back in.
Okay.
But
Do you
I
have a
didn't.
screen for me?
I didn't grab.
Here,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next video.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next video. It's independent practice, and it's on your handout on page 7. If you start at 26, you can see it 26 minutes 30 seconds to 28:10, and this will be the independent practice part. Go ahead and watch that, and we'll come back, and I'm sure Christine will be ready for us. Kristen, all right.
Anyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, it's a miracle. I don't know what's going on. Let me get my PowerPoint back here. I don't know what you're seeing if you're just seeing my screen here.
Yep, we're seeing the PowerPoint.
Everyone's back up. Does everyone see the independent practice?
Yes.
Yep. Yep, the 26:30 to 28:10. I'm so sorry about that. Thanks for hanging in there. Everyone can step out for a minute and watch that 26:30 to 28:10 and then come back.
Yep, Leah got them going on that while you were.
Oh, thank you, Leah.
Yep, when you were having your issues. So I think everybody's watching that segment right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thanks, Leah.
Oh, you bet.
Now I'm afraid to mute myself.
You don't have to.
I need to mute myself, though, because I'm listening to the tape. Great. Well, it's a very short segment, so I would be willing to bet most people are back. Close.
Yep, looks like we're just waiting on a couple people.
Yep, yep. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and move forward to the next slide and we'll just kind of go through what I was seeing there. I was seeing 1A, C, E, F, and then also 2A. So if anyone was seeing anything else, that's completely possible. But it's just kind of interesting to think about all of the ways that you can incorporate more into what you're already doing if you're really intentional about it. Yep, I'm seeing Lisa saw 2A and even 2B. So good, let's go ahead and move forward just since we had that little glitch. The extension is not part of the video, so we're just going to kind of keep moving past that one, but the extension was incorporating a couple of additional skills in 1, and then also 2A, and then the assessment was the same, that 1F and 2A. So we've kind of looked at kind of zooming in and finding specific skills and sub-skills that we can incorporate into our lesson, but the TIF is also meant to take a bigger picture as well and kind of think about what's going on in the classroom environment that they're able to take out into any setting that they choose. So we have these TIF methods that we can use in our lessons, and just for a specific example for myself, I mentioned that I will write a question on the board that's a WH question that students answer when they come into the room every day. And so I'm able to take that and incorporate all of these TIF methods. This TIF methods graphic is in your handout on page 8. And so it incorporates routines, learning task formats, technology, norms, and language. And so, as I mentioned, I use the WH questions as a warm-up. And so every day students come in, they see the question, they have a few minutes to write down the question. And because we do it every day, it becomes a routine that really builds community and an expectation that when we first get together with a group of people that we typically kind of chat with each other. And because all of the questions that I use are WH questions, they're getting repeated exposure to the language structures that are needed in various contexts. Another thing that you won't see in the video, but I do have available in my classroom, is talking dictionaries that are in a place where students always have access to. So if they come across a word that they might not understand, they can use that talking dictionary to hear the word, which is also introducing the technology and giving them other ways that they can further their own learning without the teacher. So even within this one warm-up, I'm incorporating all of the TIF methods, the routines, the norms, the learning task formats, the language, and technology. And if we had a little bit more time, I would ask you, so maybe on your own time, you can think about if there's a specific activity that you do in your class that is incorporating one of these skills like the learning strategy skills, and how they are incorporating the different methods. This is the activity that we would have done if we had a little bit more time. So a TIF activity or a TIF method that you address in your classroom. And we're not going to share out. You can kind of think about that for your own context. So now that we've kind of talked about the framework as a whole and the different components and the zoomed in pieces of the TIF and how it can help you to intentionally incorporate some specific skills. And then we've kind of looked at the larger classroom and how we're preparing them for the outside world and other contexts that they're going to be a part of. I want you to think a little bit if you're ready to jump in and take the plunge. I think all of us are ready for blue sky and warm water, but I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll so that we can assess where we're at as far as being ready to take this into our classroom. And Marisa, I'm going to have you go ahead and launch the poll because oh wait, I'm seeing it.
You got it?
Here we go. Yeah, I got it. Yep.
Good deal.
So the poll should be up on your screen now. Okay, and 100% of the people have voted, so I'm going to close the poll and share out those results. And you can see that we're all at least touching the water, which is a good feeling after the winter. So I'm going to go ahead and hide, and then because 63% of you are wading in the water and some are ready to take the plunge, I'm just going to pull up a few additional resources. So when you're preparing in your class, you know that you still have support. So you can check out the ACES Resources Library. And we do have some PLCs. Leah, did you want to talk about the PLCs at all?
Sure. So first of all, I just really want to plug the ACES resource. So the video that you saw bits and pieces of with Kristen, which is wonderful to watch it from beginning to end. And I really encourage you, even if you're teaching at a higher level or a different context, it just gives you a really good sense of how you integrate these strategies into any classroom. And there's a number of other videos available there for all the different categories, so please check that out. I mean, the videos are fantastic, and there's sample lessons there as well. The PLCs, two different kinds of PLCs going on as we speak. Well, maybe not exactly as we speak, but you know what I mean. There's face-to-face PLCs happening throughout the state of Minnesota, and they're focusing on 3 categories. Oh boy, so I've been developing the materials. Let's see if I can even remember. Developing a future pathway, navigating systems, and the learning strategies. So they'll be looking at those. And then we have a hybrid format with a face-to-face meeting to begin and 2 webinar meetings. So it's 3 meetings altogether. And if you're interested in those, you should talk to your manager to find out what your region is doing.
Perfect. Thank you, Leah. And then let's see here. We've got the Atlas website, and that's just kind of more supportive materials. It looks like everything is kind of centered around that Atlas ABE site. Marisa, do you have anything you want to say about the website?
There are 2 main pages that you can look at. That first one, that's atlasabe.org professional transitions. That's the main page that talks about ACES and all of the activities that are going on through ACES, a little bit more information. Then the resource library that everyone has been talking about here is under the Resources tab. So you'll find ACES resources there and lots of different categories of things. It's organized according to the TIF categories, and then there are some other materials there that are organized under webinars. For example, TIF webinars like the one today are all there together so that you can easily find them if you're interested in listening and watching a TIF-Lens webinar that has already taken place.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Good. You're back, Kristen.
Okay. I am back. I was a little worried there. I had to click it a couple times. Okay. And then the very last page is, again, just more information and a screenshot of where you can look for all the ACES material on Atlas's website.
Unfortunately, it's an old one. We've actually put a lot of good things up there since then. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So the more info coming soon has arrived.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Kristen, do you mind if I say one thing?
Not at all.
I'll make it quick. As many of you know, the college and career readiness standards are being unrolled throughout the state, and I just wanted to let you know that a lot of the work that you've been doing with ACES will really help you be able to tackle that next set of standards. The ACES process with the assess, complement, and evaluate is actually the same process that you'll be using when you start to integrate standards into your teaching. So you'll be really set for that, and I want to make sure that you realize how this transfers to the other kinds of professional development you'll be doing in the future.
So in other words, Minnesota is much more prepared than the rest of the nation.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Thank you so much, Leah, and thanks for putting all of this together. Marisa, thanks for the support. Sorry about the technical difficulties, so thank you to everyone who stuck it out and was patient through all of that part. So with that, I would like you to all enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.